Now, yesterday, we saw what only sport can really give us, a moment of sheer joy, of enchantment, and the magic of sport. I don't think anyone who ever saw Alisson's headed goal to win the match for Liverpool in the last minute of overtime will ever forget how much pleasure. Now, of course, as a Liverpool fan, I'm biased, but this really was a goal against West Bromwich Albion, the likes of which we've never seen before. In its 129-year history, no Liverpool goalkeeper has ever scored a goal. I'm joined now to discuss that with John Giles and, of course, all the other weekend games, including Leicester City's splendid win in the FA Cup final against Chelsea. And we will mention Everton this week. I got an irate email from a listener last week, accused me of not mentioning Everton because I was a biased Liverpool supporter. John, Alisson's goal yesterday, I know you don't sort of get quite so dreamy about football as I do, but wasn't it something special?
It really was, Eamon. And the technique of it, and again, like last touch of the game, really, it was you couldn't if you put it on a movie, you wouldn't believe it. It's a real make you up story, that. But for it to happen, I was amazed watching the game, and then I saw him taken off from his penalty area, and nobody said to him, I think, Klopp or anything didn't say get up there or anything. I think Klopp was a bit. If there'd been much time left, he would have said, get back there. I think
Allison said in his post-match interview that it was the goalkeeping coach who waved him up, said, keep going.
Yes. I saw him hugging him.
Yes.
Those two. I didn't know who he was after the match, but I saw him chasing up and I thought, oh, God, because you've seen so many goalkeepers coming up like that and they never do anything. Yeah. But it wasn't. You see centre halves doing that, Eamon. Or top headers. But it was a really difficult header in the way he did it. He got his head round, his neck around. It was, and what was amazing too after, and actually wonderful, his interview afterwards.
Yes, everybody remarked on it because we should say, if anyone doesn't know, that Alisson is a Brazilian. His father died in tragic circumstances. He drowned late last year, and Alisson wasn't able to go back to Brazil for his father's funeral. It was a devastating thing to happen. And as you say, John, afterwards he said, God touched his head, and it was sincere. Real moment of pure joy for him, and kind of, he said his father would be watching beside God. But the other thing I must say, John, when he was going up, I was raging because Liverpool were just going to blow their Champions League chances, and I was sitting there fuming, and I saw him going up, and I said to myself, there you go, like a pub team, the goalkeeper's going up to try and score. That's I'm confessing that. I didn't tell you. But boy, what a header. He steered it in. And then the centre half ran in front of him, Phillips.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. But it was the way he got into the far corner, because he was nearer the near post than the far post. And he got his neck around it and not just headed it, because most lads like that they come up and they head it over the bar or something.
Yeah.
But it was just unbelievable. But that's football as well, Eamon, isn't it? That's what can happen. That's we call it most people call it the beautiful game.
Yeah, well, it is a beautiful game. I mean,
it is a beautiful game. Yeah.
The last thing I did before I went to bed last night was I thought about that goal, and I had a little smile to myself. The first thing I thought about this morning, and I'm sure that's the way many fans are. They love.
Except the West Brom fans, Eamon.
Well, I'd say
they'd be crying. They'd be crying going to bed. Don't forget.
You can't laugh without crying, John.
No. There's no sense in it. No, it's good. No, it was good. Very excellent.
We only laugh and have the joy because we've had the pain, John.
Exactly.
Just to not to elaborate too much on Liverpool, but it keeps them in the ball game for a Champions League place. They've Crystal Palace to play on Burnley to lesser teams, Burnley away, Crystal Palace, I think, at home. And if they win them both, with Leicester playing Chelsea tomorrow night, and one of them bound to drop points, there's a real good chance. But, when you think of the value of it, 70, 80, 90 million maybe.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge money goal as well. But also, I think wouldn't you agree, for Liverpool, who won it last year, have had a terrible bad luck season with injuries, for them not to make the Champions League would be a serious problem, wouldn't it? Playing on a Thursday night in Azerbaijan in the Europa League that no one gives a damn about.
Yeah, it's a biggie. It's a biggie, Eamon. I mean, first of all, you have to take the finances into play.
Yeah.
But apart from that, which is very important, is the morale of the team now, if they do it, having looked at one stage as if they had no chance of doing it. So, it finishes up being a successful season for Liverpool if they do that.
Yes.
Haven't had the problems that they had.
Yeah.
Because next season is next season, and everything changes, as we know. I mean, and it's very, very important to them. And that was a huge goal and spectacular goal. And as you say, that's football, and that's what makes the game. It makes it a great game.
Yes.
A disappointment for West Brom, obviously, but they also have their day. Every team has their day at some stage, Eamon, but very few as dramatic as the situation yesterday, definitely.
Now, as you say, John, every team has its day, every club has its day, and Leicester City beat Chelsea in the cup final on Saturday, and I thought it was a very good game, John. And I thought it was a very, very significant, important win. We both, I think, agree that Chelsea are maybe a team very much on the up. But there was no fluke about this win, was there?
No. Leicester are a good team, Eamon. Yeah. Very, very good team.
Good
He's done a big
team,
job
John.
there.
Good young team, lots of...
Oh, yeah, and really good players. As you say, young players, very fit, very physical in the way that they play. The only thing I was worried about during the game, Eamon, for him, I thought he made a bad move when he brought on Wes Morgan.
Yeah, he looked about 2 stone, 3 stone overweight.
Like, he doesn't look fit. He doesn't. I mean, he's been a great player for them over the years, we know.
Yeah.
But at the time, I know they were under pressure, but I think the best way under pressure is to get a hold of the ball, and there was no chance of that there. So they were prepared to hang on.
Yes.
Which they did.
Yeah.
And did it well in the end. Obviously, they got a break with VAR. But overall, it was a very, very good match. And I think they just shaded it, Eamon.
Yeah, and a few players deserve special mention. Kasper Schmeichel, who I picked in my team of the season last year, I think he's a bloody great goalkeeper, John. Really good, and he was big on the day.
He's been brilliant, Eamon. And what a save he made near the end of the match.
Yeah, strong hand. Not just stopping it, but pushing it out.
Pushing it out, yeah, he's great. I mean, don't forget, he's got to live in the shadow of his dad.
Yeah.
And it took him a while, like most goalkeepers. I mean, he had a spell at Leeds. I think he had a spell at Manchester City. Yeah. And didn't do particularly well. But since he went to Leicester, obviously he was getting older. Goalkeepers need that to get in their 20s. And certainly he's proven to be almost as good as his dad.
Yes. And one has to say about Leicester, they won the championship in 2016 with Ranieri. It was a fabulous, fabulous moment. But most of those players have moved on. And Kanté, for example, but Chilwell and others. He has built a new side, Brendan Rodgers, and he deserves enormous credit, John. Johnny Evans also went off after about less than half an hour, and they had to readjust. They put this lad Wesley Fofana back. He's a very good player, John. He's only 20, but all around the team, and Didi in midfield, who's a kind of Kanté type ball winner. Tielemans, who scored a goal. He's a Belgian. He's a young player. Thomas, who is in the side, very young side, and Iñárritu playing up front with Jamie Vardy, came from Manchester City. He didn't have a good game on Saturday. I think the occasion may have got to him, but he's had a very good season scoring goals. So this is very much Brendan Rodgers' team, isn't it? Very much so, Eamon. Yeah. And over the years, I mean, they've done remarkably well because, as you know, they sold Kanté and they sold Mahrez, Chilwell, and they've replaced them. I mean, there's not many teams
can do that. And I'd say Brendan, obviously, I mean, he did a big job at Liverpool, a little bit unlucky there, and Celtic, tremendous job.
Yeah.
So going to Leicester, they haven't been a buying club. They haven't spent an awful lot of money.
No.
And I think to do what he did in relation to the clubs that do have the finances to buy players in a big way, he's built that team with what he has, with young players, good attitude, and he's done a tremendous job. Really, I was pleased for them to win it. Really pleased for them to win it.
Yeah, and you made the point to me earlier that Leicester winning the cup in the way that they did, and also likely or possibly finishing in the top four, it really underlines how stupid, unfair and greedy that idea of a European Super League was, with 6 clubs going, and Leicester not being one of them.
In a big way, Eamon.
Yeah.
It was huge for the game.
Yes.
For the Premier League itself.
Yes.
That a team like Leicester, who are not regarded in the top 6 with the finances, I mean, they will finish in the top 6 this year, maybe in the top 4.
Yes.
But it was a perfect ending to the season in that particular way.
Yes.
The greed and of these people who. Some of the teams who were in it were finishing halfway down the table, and in Arsenal's case, and the likes of Leicester doing what they did.
Yes,
just shows what can happen if a clean, what the dreams that can come true.
Yes.
For the teams that don't have the finances. I think it was huge, Eamon, and it was a big message to this greedy 6 for the Europeans for trying to do what they did.
Yeah, and I mean a testament to the English game as well, John. How competitive it is. But a lot of these players have been made, if you like, these young players particularly, made by the English game, because once you're in the Premier League, if you can survive in there and develop in there. And there's one other person that should be mentioned, and there's a great photograph in the papers this morning. Jamie Vardy went to bed on Saturday night with his FA Cup final medal. And there's a great picture, if anyone is interested. You can find it on the internet, of Vardy asleep with his medal on. He's a hell of a player, isn't he, John? A hell of a pro.
Great. Yeah. He's a great lad, Eamon. He's they talk about a team player. You can see him with the younger players, even, and he's, the way he plays professionally, gets through. He's not greedy. He's a real team player, and he's a great lad for them, and he's a great ambassador for that club and for football, Eamon. I was reading more about him during the week. He was at about 3 non-league clubs.
Oh, I know he was. Yeah,
scoring goals and he didn't come into the game until he was about 24 or so.
Yeah,
and stuck at it and did what he has done, which is brilliant. And he's been a credit.
He was playing for Fleetwood Town or something when he was 24.
Yeah, he only came into it at 24. Which is remarkable. It shows he has the resilience to do it, because it would have been easy to give up at that particular time when he was turned down by, I think he was at Sheffield Wednesday or somebody that turned him down.
Yeah.
But a great lad, and he's a real pro, and you could see him with the younger lads in the team. He's a great example. He's a great example to them all.
And he's also a player who significantly decided he didn't want to play for England anymore because he wanted to focus on his career at club level, which I think he's about 34 years of age now, is a wise thing to do. Let's talk about Chelsea, John, for a minute. Thomas Tuchel, I know you've waxed lyrical about him, and we think they're a coming team. He's certainly made a great start since he got there, getting to the Champions League final, contending strongly for a top 4 place, and getting to the FA Cup final. But they've got a problem, John, with Timo Werner, with Ziyech, who played, he's a Croat, even others of players that Frank brought in, Frank Lampard, but Werner, Ziyech, Havertz, who didn't start. There's no goals in the team, John.
Well, that's the problem, Eamon. I mean, that's how he's done so well, because he hasn't conceded.
Yeah.
He's conceded very, very few, apart from the West Brom match where he conceded 5. But as you say, he's got 6. 6 might have even gone, the strikers.
Yeah.
Pulisic Werner.
Is in there, yeah.
Werner, Havertz, Giroud.
Yeah, Hudson-Odoi. Yeah.
And Ziyech. And you can't pick 2 from them, Eamon. that's going to guarantee him the goals. And as we know, your defence was good. They only conceded 1 goal in the cup final, but it was enough to be beaten.
Yeah,
so they have to get 2 of those, 3 of those right. And so far, it hasn't happened to him. So that's why he's done a remarkable job to do what he's done without really having an out-and-out goal scorer.
Yeah, and I thought he made a mistake on Saturday tactically, one at least. He played Reece James, who I think is a very good attacking right back. In fact, at Manchester City the week before, John, he was brilliant. He walked past that Mendy, who's not fit at all. He was playing for City on the day. Put him back as a central defender in a 3, and had the 2 wing-backs were Azpilicueta and Alonso, yeah. Now, Alonso's a good player who Frank bombed out big time. But I thought he made probably a tactical mistake there. The other thing I was going to mention to you, well, first of all, deal with the tactical thing and then tell me how much you'd pay for N'Golo Kanté.
Well, Azpilicueta actually been playing. I found it strange that switch, Eamon.
Yes.
Azpilicueta's been playing in the middle of the back, in the back 3 as they have there. So I don't understand that type of tactic.
No,
I don't see the benefit of it at all.
The idea was to cope. Yeah, sorry. The idea, he said, was to cope with the threat Jamie Vardy presents in terms of pace. Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't change. Well, it's easy for me to say now, but I wouldn't change the form of my team.
No.
For one player, Eamon. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Because you're setting your own balance in it. Your team is your team, and that's what you do, and that's what you do week in, week out. And obviously, you've got to be aware of Vardy and what he does.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't, and respect him, but I wouldn't change my team as much as that.
Yeah.
For one player, to be honest.
Right. Now, what about Kanté? How good was he? He's brilliant, isn't he?
Kanté is Kanté. He's great, Eamon. We spoke about him for years when he was at Leicester. We all love him. Well, I love him, and I know you love him. But what he does, his honesty, his approach to the game, he's totally unselfish.
Yeah,
just gets on with the job. He sees the ball. Very seldom commits a foul.
Yeah,
very seldom if ever. He just sees the ball. And goes for it. He never tries to pull any. He doesn't do anything nasty. He just gets on with the game in a way that it's model pro, I call it, Eamon, on the pitch.
Yes, and he, as you say, he never commits a foul. There's no remonstrations. He just gets on with it. And he's a much better footballer than he's given credit for. He's got a brain, John, a real highly tuned football brain. The interceptions, picking out the right pass. And as you say, all of this comes in a package of professionalism and modesty that's thoroughly admirable. Yeah,
he needs somebody next to him, Eamon, I think, in the Chelsea team. He does his job brilliantly, as good as anybody can do it.
Yeah.
But he's not a sprayer of the ball. He's not a maker of goals.
No.
So they need... Jorginho doesn't do it with him, Eamon. Jorginho is sideways, A to B, but if he has a choice of going forward and turning on the ball or beating the player or passing the square, he'll always pass the square. So they need a bit more balance. I'd play the young kid. I'd play Gilmore in there. I think there's more to his game than Jorginho. Like Jorginho's stats would be brilliant, Eamon.
Yeah.
His stats would be brilliant, but his effect on the pitch doesn't match his stats. That's for sure.
The Kovacic, who's been injured, and Tuchel was very high in his praise of Kovacic. He may come back in, but you're right about Billy Gilmore is a kid. He's a Scottish kid. He wasn't even on the bench, John, I don't think.
I think he was, Eamon.
Oh, he's on the bench, but he played in the league games, the last 2 league games.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought the cup final would be too much for him, but he looks like a coming player.
Definitely. He's the best young player I've seen in the middle of the field for a long time. Now, it might be a bit too much to ask him of the moment.
Yeah.
As you said, the other lad are probably... But Jorginho was picked week in and week out. And I just don't see it in him.
I don't.
No, I just don't see it in him.
Now, John, I got an unpleasant email. Well, unpleasant wasn't a critical email about not talking about Everton last time we talked, John, last week. I just talk about them now. They lost at home to Sheffield United last night. I watched the match, actually, and he had a very good team out on the pitch, Ancelotti. but they couldn't make any progress against a very, very stubborn Sheffield United team that, as we know, is already relegated. That result probably means that Ancelotti, for the first time in his very distinguished career as a coach, his team won't have finished in the top 6 in any league in Europe. Now, he has had big teams like AC Milan and Real Madrid, but he's a terrific coach, and Everton's a terrific club. They were a really big club when you were playing, and they still have that tradition for playing football, trying to play the game the way it should be played. But they don't have... There's something badly lacking in that present team, isn't there?
Well, what he said after the match, Eamon, was that they've got another home game, I think he says, and I hope they wake up.
Yeah.
Which is a bad thing for a man. It means they're not at it, Eamon.
No.
You know, I didn't see the game. Game. But, I mean, they have the potential there, certainly, to be better than being beaten by Sheffield United. I'd say he'd be very, very disappointed at that. I think overall, since he's gone to the club, he's done a big job. Eamon.
Yes,
he's got players in, experienced players, good players, genuine pros and that. So, and when I've seen them play, generally they play. I've never seen them not trying. So it must have been a really bad day for them at the weekend.
Sheffield were very good, John. They were very. They were like a group of lads. Like Fleck was playing. These are lads who've been there for when they were down in the lower leagues. Egan was outstanding. The Irish player, of course, absolutely outstanding. David McGoldrick was brilliant. I swear, he worked so hard. He's a classy player anyway. So they really looked as if they'd gone out to say, okay, we may be down, but we're going to prove something to ourselves if there's nothing else. And they got the result. Let me move you on to what I know you really want to talk about. Leeds.
Liverpool.
No. Leeds beating Burnley 4-0 at Burnley. Now, you were waxing lyrical about that. I didn't see much of that game, but you said they were brilliant.
They were brilliant, Eamon. It's amazing. I just read a paper this morning where there was a lot of talk early on in the season with the manner in which they play and the physical aspect of that game, Eamon. Go.
Yeah.
That they'd flag near the end of the season.
Yeah.
But they didn't bloom and flag on the weekend.
No.
Against Burnley, and Burnley are no walkovers, as we know, with Sean Dyche's team.
No.
Now to be fair, they finished 4-0. Like they did have a couple of chances, Burnley.
Yeah.
And the goalkeeper did extremely well. He's only 2021, and I thought at the start of the season he was a bit. I didn't fancy him that much, but he's come on really well. But the manner in which they played, Eamon, and the goals in which they scored. I mean, they brought Rodrigo, one of the players they bought early on in the season.
Yes.
Along with Rafinha, it scored 2 brilliant goals. But it was the work beforehand, the manner in which they played from the back, plenty of energy, brilliant passing. Phillips made a brilliant pass, as he can do. To set up the second goal.
Yeah. But
Burnley no walkovers, and they totally outplayed them.
Now,
excellent, really good.
Bielsa is out of contract, and he hasn't signed a new contract. Therefore, he's from now, or in a week's or two's time, he's available.
Yeah, I think we spoke about before.
Spurs are looking for a manager, and so are a few others.
Yeah. Well, I think I might have said on this program. I mean, if he can do what he did at Leeds in the last 2 years, you would say on paper Spurs would have better players than Leeds United. And imagine what he could do with them, or even more so. Imagine what he could do with the Manchester United players.
Yeah.
If he was doing it.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, we'll see. But Levy, don't forget, he'd get him for nothing.
Yeah,
which would suit Levy to go to Spurs. Give him a year or 2 year contract. I mean, in other words, he wouldn't be that expensive.
Yep.
I think it would be made for Levy to get somebody in like that.
And Bielsa doesn't speak English, so he wouldn't have to speak to Levy.
Exactly. No point. Nobody can speak to Levy.
No. I actually noticed Roy Keane there on. I think he's beginning to snipe at Ole Gunnar Solskjær. He's been very supportive of him, to be fair to Roy Keane. Very supportive of him, and he's a former colleague, of course. But I thought Roy was quite hard about the team, particularly the midfield. Fred got a mention, and he was talking about, I actually agree with his assessment, I wondered if you do, that they need an awful lot of class, 3 or 4 really top-class players to make them contenders in any meaningful sense for the Premier League. Would you agree with that?
Well, you could say that about any team, Eamon.
Yeah.
But I think with what they have, they should be doing better.
Right.
I really do. Because when I see, I don't know Solskjær. I think he's a very nice lad, Eamon. I'm sure he's a gentleman lad. But as a manager, I've often said in your programme, my take on management, you get a team and football is made up of a million things. And when you play one match, you learn from that individually and a team. Like a fullback's not in the right position, you get him in the right position, the left back or the centre, whatever it might be. They all need improvement. And week by week or match by match, you get better and better and better. And you usually ends up, first of all, losing less goals than you did before.
Yep.
David. And therefore, you don't need as many to win.
Yeah.
That's my take on football and management.
Yep.
Get the little things right, get the individual players, the faults right, bit by bit by bit, and then you should improve bit by bit by bit by bit. And if you're there long enough, after 10 matches, you get better, 20 matches, you get better, 30 matches, you get better, and so on and on. Right?
It's a version...
But I see with Solskjær, Eamon, I don't think he does that. He looks at the match, sees the match, and what I see, it is if somebody made an obvious or in an obvious bad position, for example, it's there again next week.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's then again. So in other words, pick a team, go out and play.
Yeah.
Pick a team, go out and play. And that leads to inconsistency. What the great managers do is have a consistency about their team. They're not going to lose many goals. It's going to be hard to beat, and you take whatever's going for in your favour. That's the way I see it. I don't see that with Solskjær.
Yeah.
I really don't.
The football equivalent to your philosophy of look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves.
Yeah.
Which is why I haven't bought me a drink for a while. Anyway, let me ask you a final question, which I got from a Manchester United fan. Opinion. They always say, "Could you ask John?" They never say, "Would you have an opinion?" Anyway, I think I'll call the podcast "Ask John." No, we're very grateful, and we read everything that comes in, everything, and take great care to take notice of it because everyone makes mistakes. And we're no different. Mason Greenwood, a Manchester United fan, wants to know, what do you think of Mason Greenwood? And funnily enough, I'd like to know myself because we've never discussed him. He's obviously a gifted lad and he's scoring plenty of goals. What do you make of him?
I think he's the makings of a great player, Eamon.
Really?
Yeah. The makings.
Yes.
Right. He's a young lad. I don't see him as professional as he should be.
No, I think off the field he has a little bit of form.
He's a young lad. He's young lad. He's getting well paid. He's a good looking lad.
Yeah.
But there's been good looking lads who've been well paid before, who go on to be great players. Yeah. You know, I just on the
bad
pitch.
Looking yourself, Chief.
I wouldn't say that. But
anyway.
But I see him on the pitch, Eamon, and he's gifted. He's scoring the goals. And he's only young. I know he's only young, but I'd love to see a little bit of hardness in his approach.
Yes, yeah.
You know, a little bit of
mental toughness.
A bit of devilment, as you'd say. You know, and now he's only young, and he could well get that, but he'd have to get that.
Yes, and he's unlikely to get it from Fred.
Well, Fred is Fred. You know, he's okay.
I'm
A to B man. He's not going to make a huge difference. No. He's not going to influence a team to become great. Let's put it that way.
I'm paraphrasing. I'm channeling my Roy Keane. Anyway, that's good, and that's really all we have time for this week. Just a final question. There's an interesting match tomorrow night, and it's hugely important for Liverpool fans. Leicester City travel to Chelsea. Now, you know, because you've been there, they've won the Cup on Saturday, and they have a match on Tuesday. And the euphoria of winning the cup in those circumstances as well. Would that make Chelsea hot favourites, do you think?
Well, I think traditionally, Eamon,
Yeah.
they'd be the winners.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Now, again, it depends on Brendan. Brendan is a good manager. This is a little test for him now in this particular situation.
The Champions League place
exactly
to play for.
And they've won the cup, so it's easy to rest on your laurels, as they say.
Yeah.
Now, can he get them to say, right, this is it, lads, you've done that, now I want this.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and they need it, and they've got to do it well, you know, because it's easy to say, oh, well, we won the cup on the weekend, supporters won't be too unhappy, they actually be happy with what we've done and all that. Now, are they going to be professional enough to say, right, forget about the cup. Right. This is a separate match. We want to win this match as well.
And finish in the top four, which is huge.
Yes. Yep.
Okay,
yep.
John. Very grateful to you, as always, for talking to us. Delighted that Leeds won, and I hope you don't lose your manager. If he goes down the rabbit hole with Mr. Levy, you may never see him again. We're grateful very much to John Giles.